Hi, my name is Josh Madoff. I'm a film composer and sound designer, and today I want to talk to you about one of the coolest projects I ever worked on. It's an animated short called Nuevo Rico, and I was lucky enough to do the sound and music for it. Huge shout out to director Christian Mercado, creative director Remo Ventura, and the entire amazing team that made this film. Now here's a behind the scenes look at the music and sound of Nuevo Rico. Making the car chase scene was super fun. As soon as I saw the footage, I knew the Continue Mini was going to be perfect for it. So I found this really cool sound called FDN Craziness. And I made a bunch of recordings of it going in different directions, up, down, different speeds. Basically trying to capture everything I might possibly have a car do with this sound. So here you can see I have all the takes cut up to match the cars in the shots. Like, we'll look at a few individuals. So here, this one is coming toward us, so it should go down. This one kind of ramps up. And then that's the next thing, which is you have to add panning to match the screen. And not just panning, but as you can see, this one kind of whips around. So I also had to add these kind of volume swells right there. And then when you want the cars to crisscross, they pan across each other opposite the screen, and then they also have this little jump in volume right at the same time as they're crossing paths. And here. And the other thing I did was I pitched everything, so if you listen with the music, it actually kind of plays with the song. And then at the end, of course, we ramp up. And down they go. For the music that represents the Taino gods and the jungle scene of the film, I based it on a traditional Puerto Rican bomba. However, I didn't want to use actual religious rhythms, and I also don't own the drums to make those exact sounds, so I had to get very creative. I recorded this drum probably 6 or 7 times with different treatments. I know there was this main rhythm, and then I did a different version of that rhythm with the drum taped up. There's another one where I put the microphone inside of the drum and made kind of this bassier pattern. I recorded this shaker, but I pitched it down. This is actually a bamboo flute, but I flipped it over and recorded hitting it with a drumstick on the backside. Here you can hear the different layers of the drum. This is the bass one, I think, with the microphone inside of it. It's a different rhythm, same drum. That's the shaker. Here's the flute hit with the drumstick. All the drums together sound like this. And there's just one thing left to complete the sound, putting a low pass filter on it and then ramping it up. And make it get more and more throughout the scene. I knew I wanted some kind of mystical sounding horn, so I took this trumpet patch from the Continue Mini. Added some reverb. It sounds pretty good, but it wasn't quite big and ambiguous and mysterious enough for me. So I decided to put it through this synth called the TC Helicon Perform V, which is designed to allow you to sing into it and play harmonies with yourself. So just having the Continue Mini going through the synth, it already sounds much cooler. But if you add a low note and keep it down the whole time, it adds this tension and it's building to something. You're really waiting for it to keep going down and down until you finally reach this low note. Here's what the final recording of the horn sounds like. And as you can see, it actually goes through the whole scene and into the next scene and ties things together. I also added a little sub bass. Then we have this FM synth, which just drips with mystical vibes. You can't really tell if it's going up or down, where it starts or stops. And then you put it all together, you get this sound. I'm going to skip ahead. You can hear drums open up more and more. Now, in order to make the transition work, where they go into the jungle and they witness a meeting of the Taino gods, basically witnessing reality from another plane, I decided to take the whole tribal drum print and put it through this synth over here. It's a Autobit Junior, it's a very cool bit crusher synth. You can hear it here. So this is all the drums. I finally let them all open up, and then I engage the bit crusher, and it's like entering another dimension right here. All right, so that's just the drums. When you hear it all together, there's a lot of symbolism and storytelling baked into the sound design of Nuevo Rico. For example, when you first meet the antagonist, Eshu the messenger god, you hear this glockenspiel hit. Then you hear it again as he's driving Vico insane. Then you hear it again at the very end as the sound of a nuclear bomb dropping. What most people probably didn't notice is that you can actually hear it at the very beginning of the film. You hear it over the first part of the car chase, because that was the moment that Eshu was pushing them down this path, which led to their ultimate fate. Now remember, Chris and I talked a lot about how do you represent the messenger god in a modern or futuristic world. And we both came up with this idea of electricity because, modern messages are all electronic. So when you first meet him, you have this electricity sound that I made from 2 layers of continuity. And it comes back in quite often in the film in different forms. So, for example, sometimes it's quick and aggressive, and sometimes it's a little more subtle, like here. Sometimes it's big and obvious. And you can even hear it subtly at the end, after all of Eshu's work is done and Barbie's fate is sealed. Just an echo of what he already accomplished. There's even a little messenger symbolism hidden in this 808 beat in the jungle scene. So there's a music change, it gets a little more lighthearted. A couple layers of 808, and on one of them, I put it through a bit crusher and made it sound like Morse code. Just a little nod to old school messages from the messenger god. Another recurring sound that is used to help tell the story is the contract sound. So here you can see it when it first comes in. They tear the contract in half. It has this ringing sound, kind of like their ears are ringing. It only comes back a few times, but it's very significant because it represents the responsibility they have to take for signing away their souls in this deal to become superstars. So you can see it here in this psychedelic scene where Barbie's starting to have regrets and she wants to be cautious. And most significantly, we bring it back at the end, except now it's not a contract. It turns into the microphone that Barbie drops, representing her fame, her contract being fulfilled, and her fate and Nuevo Rico's fate being sealed. takes you kind of back through their whole story and ultimately to its destructive conclusion. An interesting fact about the film is that you barely get to see the city of Nuevo Rico like at all. So in the one scene where we really show it, I wanted to make sure that every blinking light counted, every sound was important. We wanted to make this world as immersive as possible. The scene opens on this video billboard that's advertising Nuevo Rico, trying to get people to move there. And there's blinking lights and there's music coming out of the sign. So there's a counter that you can hear off to the left there. That's this counter down there on the right. There's a dialogue, which is really good.
Come to paradise.
More blinking light sounds on the left. Same thing down here. I think more blinking lights. Put them all together.
Come to paradise, the land of your dreams. Tierra barata and Bitcoin friendly. Nuevo Rico.
And here, when it zooms out to bigger shots of the city, every single moving object has its own special sound. Just totally immersive world. And of course, we can't forget about the robot cops. They're basically three sounds. The first layer is servo motors. The second one is inkjet printers. The third one is this fuzzy noise I recorded on a Continue Mini. Put them all together. And I actually did the voices of the RoboCops myself.
Which way did they go?
Someone said they went into the rainforest.
Nobody makes it out of there alive.
The heartbeat of this film is the traditional dembow reggaeton beat. We use it in the club scene in Miami. It comes back as kind of a trap beat in the background during the green room shot. We use it at the very beginning in the chase. We use it again in the studio for Barbie and Vico's music, which was actually a collaboration between my friends Calypso Carez and Fernando Ramos. And the incredible Right Now sang on top of it. We even turned it into a lullaby for the whole last scene of the film.
La cortina de la sala se abre y toca mi sala.
And finally, the sneakiest one, where we turned it into an actual heartbeat and a heart monitor inside the womb. One of my favorite moments in the film is right before they go into the jungle. Barbie steps into a puddle and she has a vision of the future and kind of a mystical, trippy, out-of-body experience. And the visuals are incredible. Now, what I did to make this section work sonically was I took a very simple puddle splash sound, just that, and then I put it through what's called a Roland Space Echo. I think mine's about 40 years old. It uses a really long tape loop and it keeps recording on top of itself and on top of itself. And if you change the timing on it, it has this really cool aliasing effect like this. This is the splash through the Space Echo. Also added a bunch of delay to the dialogue. And then took this knife sound here and also put that through the Space Echo. And altogether it sounds like this.
Sammy and Julia, feel them. Yeah, the music is calling.
One of my absolute favorite memories from working on the film is one night talking on the phone with Chris, director Christian Mercado. And we're discussing the opening sequence and kind of how to make this world feel real and exciting and just engaging the audience from the beginning. And I had this idea to try a little marimba, this little Indonesian marimba. On his end of the phone call, he was playing, just the film muted, and I started playing. And Chris was like, "That's perfect. We have to use that." Then it ended up being the intro music. I think I added this little shaky. You can hear the first marimba part at the beginning here, soloed. And then we add the next part right here. And then in context. It was such a nice, organic, collaborative moment. I'm always going to remember that.
We need a new song.
It's not too often I get to turn one of my good friends into a god, or in this case, gods. My friend Fernando Ramos got to do the voice of Eshu and the gods, the Taino gods, and he crushed it. Here's a little before and after.
But first things first. You cats and I gotta have a sit down about common courtesy.
But first things first. You cats and I gotta have a sit down about common courtesy.
We have gathered here to decide who the next siren of reggaeton will be. We need a new song for a new age.
We have gathered here to decide who the next siren of reggaeton will be. We need a new song for a new age.
That was behind the scenes look at the music and sound of Nuevo Rico. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below and I'll answer as many as I can. And don't forget to like and subscribe and ding that bell so you get notified about the next video.